Welcome, everybody, to the PCC Institute for Health Professionals podcast. My name is Pete Wright, and I'm here with the good and kindly Erin Neff. Hello, Erin. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Erin. Oh,
That's an auspicious start. That's an auspicious start. You are Erin this time, but maybe next time we talk, I'll play Erin.
Okay. Hi, Pete.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here. We've been talking a lot about, before we get too far into this, you're an interpreter over at Legacy. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and you teach for us a sight translation course.
That is correct.
Now, we've talked about healthcare interpreting with another instructor, with the good Morad Nouri, who talked a little bit about the role of interpreting. But today, you're going to talk specifically about sight translation and what that is.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so let's start with what that is, and then I want to hear how you got into this racket.
Okay.
All right.
So sight translation essentially is when you take a written document that's written in one language and then you simultaneously interpret it into another language. So let's say you're at the doctor's office, you get all your papers, of course, in English, but if you speak Russian, then you need someone to tell you what those forms say. So the interpreter will read it and then say it in Russian.
Okay. So, but it really focused on forms, or in the case of sight translation, that is specifically related to dealing with documentation and forms. Is that correct, or is
yes.
it okay?
Yes, it's only forms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you get into this?
Into interpreting?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I have to think back. Let's see. That's a long story. I think that. The long and short of it is that I got my degree in Spanish many years ago. I felt like I wasn't using it, so I left the country for a year and lived abroad, and then came back and got a job at a medical clinic. And I wasn't interpreting, but I wanted to. And so that was in Seattle. When I moved to Portland, I found the PCC course and took the course. At the time, I think it was about 60 hours. Now it's 120. And then started using my skills, and I eventually was able to get an in-house job. I mean, I worked at my current clinic where I was and used my skills there, went freelance, and then from there was able to get an in-house position. And I got really lucky because there aren't very many in-house positions out there. So I feel like it was just really good timing. And then I was preparing for national certification last year, and I was studying all these different things, the consecutive, the simultaneous, the sight translation, stuff that I do every day, but I really wanted to focus on just getting my skills the best I possibly could so I'd be prepared for the oral exam. And that inspired me to want to teach a specific class on sight translation, because in the interpreting skills class that I teach as part of the main program, we touch on this stuff, but there's just not enough time to get into it in depth.
Well, and that sort of gets to the next question, right? Which is why is sight translation as a specific course? Now, the course you're teaching is it's a 12-hour class, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so why is this an important course to have as a specific component to develop this specific skill?
Because for those who are working as interpreters, there aren't a ton of opportunities for workshops to improve your skills, and I saw this need for this particular, a focused class on a particular skill where current working interpreters who have experience or training can really focus in on this particular skill and go over some challenging material, work with others in an environment that's a lot more inspiring than just doing it on your own. And then some interpreters, want to study for the test like I did, and so they want to focus on the skill because maybe they feel weak in it. Or
Sure.
Some have gone through certification, and they need continuing education credits. So this helps keep up their skills and get their extra credits.
In terms of your daily, sort of your day-to-day, your workaday life as an interpreter, how much of this sight translation do you do for patients daily?
It depends on the day and what is coming up, but it's at least once a day, if not more. It's mostly with intake forms, financial agreements, discharge instructions, and of course, I'm there with a provider usually, depending on what the document is. Like if it's intake forms, it's just the two of us. But if it's something like more medical teaching type stuff like discharge or teaching sheets or of course consent forms, those all have to have a medical provider present.
Well, this is something that as I'm just continuing to learn about the changing nature of healthcare interpreting and certification, particularly in Oregon and around the country. It seems like so many have come into the field as a result of sort of informal training. They started translating for a family member. They kind of grew from there. But the nature of interpreting is changing, as I imagine the nature of which has changed the nature of the skills that you need to develop, particularly for certification. Now, in terms of certification, is sight translation a part of the certification exam?
Yes, it is. There are 2 certification exams, national certification exams, and both of them require the interpreter to do sight translation. You
are a Spanish interpreter. Is that the only language you speak?
That is correct.
Okay, so how do you teach a class for interpreters who speak languages other than Spanish? Does language matter?
These classes that I teach are all language neutral. And so what we do is we come up with a way to give feedback to your partner. So if you don't have someone that shares your language pair, that partner can give you some general feedback on what they're noticing. And then I also give some ideas of what to look for in yourself as you're doing this, because that is something that's important to cultivate as well. Because when you're out in the field working, no one else is there critiquing you. You're on your own with the patient and the provider, and you really need to be listening to yourself and self-evaluating and self-correcting if needed as you go along. And so this is an opportunity to help develop those skills of self-critique.
Almost I imagine an equally important skill as to the skill of sight translation itself, being able to hear yourself in the field.
Yes.
To develop that inner ear, I guess.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, you're doing so many things at the same time. You're, doing your translation or interpreting, and then you're also listening to yourself to say, okay, is this coming out right? And if not, how can I, correct this transparently and make sure that it's as accurate as possible? So it's an important skill to have in conjunction with the sight translation.
So the class is 12 hours long. When does it, when is it offered next?
April 1st, spring of this year. And so it'll be 4 weeks, 3 hours each.
And my assumption is, if I were to ask you, where would people go to find out more about it, that you would recommend the Climb website?
Yes, absolutely. They could also call this number. It's 971-722-6633.
Excellent. And there is so much available on the Climb website under the Healthcare Medical Interpreting section. There are some videos up there. Absolutely worth checking out. pcc.edu/climb/health/interpreting. And we'll make sure that goes in the show notes.
I'm really excited about the class. I think it's going to be fun. I always learn things in the class along with the students, and we're going to have some challenging things to go over too. And I think we'll just have a really great discussion and lots of practice. That's my main goal. Is I do a little bit of discussion, but mostly I want the students to maximize as much time as they can practicing.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like a great class, and you are obviously a charming and entertaining instructor. So everybody needs to take this class. If you're in healthcare interpreting, go visit Erin at PCC.
Absolutely.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thanks, Pete.
Hey, thank you, Erin. And thank you all for listening as usual. Make sure to head over to our Facebook page. You can like us at facebook.com/PCC Health Professionals. Go ahead, write that down, PCC Health Professionals. Give us a like over there. We post all of our new episodes. And frankly, the staff over there has made that page a fantastic resource. Every day there are great links, tools, infographics, stuff they're posting every day. It's absolutely worth getting into that page just to see the wide variety of health-related resources that are being posted there. Facebook.com/PCC Health Professionals. On behalf of Erin Neff, I'm Pete Wright. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next week on the Institute for Health Professionals podcast.